Hey guys, I'm UnoPro and I'm back with another video. Today I'm going to be starting a new series called Be in the Meta with Cat. And basically I'm going to go through each deck in the meta and explain how I'll approach each matchup playing Cat, but also breaking down how each deck works and the key cards for it. So even though I'm going from the perspective of a Cat player, a lot of these will be general principles that will apply to each deck, and everyone can hopefully take a bit of understanding of the deck or how to beat it. So today I'm starting off with Masfar, Father of Titans, who is primarily played as an OTK deck. Now the strength of Masfar comes from its prime magic as well as its ability to deal a lot of damage with water magic. Now the main cards for Masfar OTK are Shalas's Blade, Chain Casting and Time Jump. Now the way the deck works, it will draw a bunch of cards early game, increase its magic to 5 with Circle of 9, allowing it to play Time Jump and Shalas's Blade. And basically, it will look to play a ton of small spells onto one creature, with Chain Casting out in the field, which will consistently reduce the cost of the other spells, allowing you to play spells like Time Jump for free, and multiple Shalas's Blade, dealing enough damage to do at least 20 damage in one turn. Now the strength of Masfar OTK over other OTK decks that have existed is that it has access to prime magic. That means it can play Time Jump. This means it doesn't even have to have a creature out on the board to be able to kill you in one turn. You can play a creature, drop a bunch of buff spells, and then Time Jump, and they can kill you the next turn. So you can't leave any lane unblocked sometimes, and that's why Masfar can be a really frustrating deck for people to play against. I mean, I even get frustrated playing against it, even though I have some counters in my deck. So basically, the counter on Masfar is two main cards: Day of the Sanctuary and Cosmic Balance. Now the good thing about this is these cards can be applied and put in every deck, so no one has an excuse of not being able to beat Masfar OTK because you have the tools available to you. Now Cosmic Balance is the most obvious counter to Masfar. 4 resources deal 3 damage to your heroes, and both players discard cards at random until they have a maximum of 6 in the hand. Now Masfar OTK in the early turns is going to be trying to draw as many cards as it can to make the OTK as easy as possible. With only 6 cards in your hand, there's basically no way a Masfar can kill you 20-0. Now we need a stall until around turn 5 or 6, which is when we really want to use this card, when Masfar has hopefully drawn a fair bit of his deck, and we're going to be discarding Time Jumps, very important cards. Basically no way he's going to be able to kill you once he has 6 in hand. We should by then have a strong board presence, seeing as Masfar lacks a lot of removal. Now Day of the Sanctuary is a bit more subtle in the way it counters Masfar OTK, but in essence, basically the whole OTK process is based around Masfar targeting his own creatures with buff spells. Now Day of the Sanctuary will make them untargetable, making them unable to be buffed, and so there's basically no way Masfar can kill you if there's no creature he can target. And so that's why these are very common cards. Day of the Sanctuary especially is strong in many decks and not just good against Masfar. Cosmic Balance not so much. Occasionally you can take a couple cards off a control deck, but in essence it's really just for Masfar. Now Masfar isn't being played a lot in competitive play at the highest level, but that doesn't mean it's having no impact on the meta. It's actually having one of the hugest impacts on the meta of any deck, as it's forcing a lot of decks to run at least 2 or 3 Cosmic Balances. So that's kind of keeping it away from top levels of play, but you'll still see a lot on the ladder, and it's still having huge influence because the deck has the potential to just roll over a control deck that doesn't have Cosmic Balance or can't apply enough pressure early on. Okay, so the game plan against Masfar OTK. We want to apply a lot of early pressure with our 1s and 2 drops, so Goblin Scouts, stuff like that. Now, Masfar doesn't have a lot of removal. They're going to skip out on stuff like Geysers, Ice Meteors, because it simply needs those cards to OTK. So basically the only defenses are its 1s drops. So the main defense you're going to come up against is the Rokashar Skirmisher, so the 1/0/3 evade. So basically this will allow us to develop our board however our hand will allow it, without having to really worry about what our opponent's going to do. So we want to play a lot of aggressive. Now obviously this depends on your hand, but we want to be putting a lot of pressure on early. We need to threaten his life total, so Masfar can't just sit back and draw cards and then eventually kill you. So after around turn 4, this is when Masfar has probably drawn quite a large portion of his deck, and we need to be a bit wary about being killed, especially if he's already played a circle of 9. So from then on, we want to try and keep the board clear, avoid giving up an easy loss. So that means stuff like just leaving a creature open in a lane where it can freely attack your hero. That can just lead to an easy win. They don't need broken bridge, they don't need talent portals, they don't need time jumps. So if we can keep the board clear after then, we will. Now, Masfar doesn't run many creatures at all, so don't hesitate to drop a Soul Reaver on a 1/0/3 if that's what it needs to do. So our main win condition against Masfar is either rushing him down or activating a Cosmic Balance to destroy the opponent's hand and preventing the OTK. So there's basically no way a Masfar can kill you from that point after a good Cosmic Balance. And from there on you should be able to run away with the game. Now while we're waiting for that Cosmic Balance, or we're trying to apply a bit more pressure and we're not too worried about being killed, we can use Day of the Sanctuary on the opponent's creatures to basically assure that we can't be killed unless he has a creature in hand, he's able to clear a lane, and then time jump. So that's basically the game plan against Masfar OTK. We'll try and shut him down, play Cosmic Balances, and prevent him from buffing his own creatures with Day of the Sanctuary. So I've got a replay I wanted to show you guys. Alright guys, we're back with the game I played recently against Masfar OTK. And as you can see already, he's automatically drawing cards with Week of Knowledge. Just trying to draw as many cards as he can early game. So I'm starting off with a Goblin Scout. Preferably we would like a 2-drop, but we'll take what we get. Still 2 damage that's gonna eventually apply some pressure onto Masfar. So in typical Masfar fashion, he's gonna avoid playing his creatures in front of mine, trying to protect them, keep them on the board so he can deal some damage later. So pretty standard play here. We're just trying to curve out with our creatures. I choose to block with the Elephant here. It's not really gonna matter too much, but it's gonna force him to move the Scholar, which is fine by us, and no real loss or advantage gained there. So I'm happy with that. He managed to get the Circle of 9, which is huge for Masfar. Basically, without Circle of 9, he can't cast any of his spells, and you'll see Masfar is constantly using hero ability even just to draw cards until they can find that Circle of 9. So he's at 7 magic now. So there's no free wins coming up. I'm going to have to stop the OTK in some way or rush him down beforehand. So I choose just to play a Shredder beforehand, just to apply as much damage and as much pressure. So I've already got 6 damage on the board and he's at 12 health. So that's a 2 or 3 turn clock if he doesn't respond. Now Masfar, he does have a fair bit of damage in hand already, with a Shalas's Blade and a ton of water spells. He's probably looking for another chain casting, possibly a time jump, as I'm going to start blocking off those lanes. Now here, as I said before earlier, around turn 4 or 5, Masfar can sometimes kill you, especially depending on if they have good draws or not. So I want to start killing off creatures. Now I don't have a lot of removal in my hand, but I do have a War Tent, which I can use to kill off the Scholar. So not only does it kill off the Scholar, also presents a threat of another 4 damage later on, which is really important when we're trying to apply pressure. Now I'd like to just pause the replay here for a second and highlight my latest play. Now I had 2 resources, could drop a Renar Harpy, have every lane full, have a really strong board presence. But as we can see, my board is very strong, I'm applying a lot of pressure. There's no reason to risk losing here. So by playing Day of the Sanctuary, there's no way that my opponent can kill me next turn. I also have the Elephant. So I'm really, at this point, I'm 100% sure I'm safe for at least the next turn. And so I can keep looking for that Cosmic Balance. If not, I can keep trying to Day of the Sanctuary my opponent. So I'm just really looking to keep applying pressure, but also making sure I'm not going to die. So I'll just continue the replay here. Now, Day of the Sanctuary can actually really catch Masfars who aren't paying a lot of attention off guard. So they may not be paying, they may be alt-tabbing, they may be doing whatever. And it can often bait them into using their chain castings in the wrong time. So as you can see, my opponent's just having to think here. Drawing a card, as all Masfars do, constantly. So you can see the size of his hand now. It's getting quite considerable. and he has starting to get all the tools he needs to kill me. So he actually doesn't notice the Day of the Sanctuary here and chooses to go for the chain casting in an attempt to combo off. He has 3 ice shells and Shalaf's blade, a lot of water spells he can get into play and potentially kill me. But he doesn't actually realize that I have Day of the Sanctuary, constantly trying to ice shell his own creature, but to no avail. And that's really showing the strength of the Day of the Sanctuary. Now I could potentially lose the game if I don't have the Day of the Sanctuary. Turn 5 wins don't happen all the time, but they're definitely common enough with Masfar to worry about. So he's forced to Night of the Rising Moon after having wasted his chain casting, and from here I'm feeling pretty good. So there's nothing he can do apart from end his turn. And finally the Cosmic Balance turns up. I'm at very healthy life total. The Cosmic Balance is going to only have 6 cards in hand, losing 7 cards. That is really the power of Cosmic Balance against Masfar in action. So you stall out, you protect yourself, you get a good Cosmic Balance off, and from there, there's no way you can lose. Now, as we can see here, basically a guaranteed win. From here, you can block off, but we all know that this one is over. So I guess he's playing extra 1-drops, just trying to really abuse that time jump. As they're cheapest to play, we just Insect Swarm, clear the path, and that'll be GG. So guys, I hope you have learned something from this. Basically I'm going to continue with this series, and next video I'll be doing Nala Immolation. So I hope you guys got a bit of an understanding about how Masfar OTK works if you weren't familiar with the deck, and basically the general principles that we want to apply to beating the deck. Now I was playing Cat there, I could be playing any hero. Every hero has access to Day of the Sanctuary and Cosmic Balance. Any deck can apply some pressure to an extent, especially if you're not a full control deck. So you just want to apply pressure, protect ourselves from the OTK, and get a good Cosmic Balance off, and from there Masfar can't win. Now that's the main reason Masfar OTK isn't being played at the highest level, but it's having a huge impact on the meta, and basically forcing most decks to run a couple of Cosmic Balances to basically ensure they don't get run over by Masfar, because you can easily do that if you don't have the right defense. So I hope you guys are aware of how you can beat the deck, and I hope you learned something. So hopefully tune in next time. Hit subscribe if you want to follow for the next videos, and I appreciate all feedback always. So if you have something to say how I can improve the video, just write in the comments in Reddit or YouTube, however you think. So thanks a lot for watching. I'm signing off for now.